Hello, wonderful Imago friends. I feel very honored that Michael has asked me to say a few words to you for your Imago tag. And I can imagine as I look out that you're all sitting there, a community of kindred spirits who are dedicated to a good world. A world where people connect to each other, essence to essence. I want you to know that I'm speaking to you during a very important week in my country, the United States. Just this Wednesday, on January 22nd, 2021, a new administration was inaugurated. And 2 weeks before that, on January 6th, we all witnessed with deep distress the desecration of the Capitol. At the inauguration ceremony, a 22-year-old African-American poet by the name of Amanda Gorman read her inspiring poem called "The Hill We Climb." In it, she says, "If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in the bridges we've made." The tension between autocracy and democracy is very meaningful to me. Both Yumi and I are children of war, both of us coming out of World War II. And we are profoundly dedicated to a world where, as Amanda Gorman says in her poem, victory doesn't lie in the blade, but in the bridges we've made. And so this takes me to how we came to Austria. It was Yumi. In his usual integrity and courage, he said to me, "If we don't go to Austria and to Germany and cross the bridge to Austrians and Germans, we are not walking our talk. We've got to go." I want you to know that before we came, we had so closed the door to that possibility that we wouldn't even buy a matchbox made in Germany. And so here Yumi arranged for our first workshop outside of Vienna. And I'll never forget what occurred, because we stepped into a room full of couples who had come to learn from us. And yet, as we walked around and looked into people's eyes, it was the first time we had landed in Austria, and something was happening inside of us. A fear began to trickle on the inside. And when it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, Yumi said to me, "Heidi, let's light our Shabbat candles with the workshop," which we had done at every workshop we'd ever been to. I was too scared, and I said, no, not yet. It's not yet safe. "Now is the time," Yumi said. No, not yet. And now we're beginning our usual power struggle where Yumi out of the thread becomes rigid and me out of the thread become diffuse. And now, no. And now we have a conflict right in front of everybody in the workshop. They can feel the tension growing between us. That evening, we crossed the bridge to each other, and we landed in the neighborhood of terror. Each one of us felt terrified, and we visited the fear that we carry in our fiber. And when we felt peaceful again, we went to sleep. And in the morning, Yumi, in his usual integrity and courage, stood up in front of the workshop. And after he said Good Morgen, he told them about our visit in the evening and the neighborhoods of terror that we both visited. And as he spoke, a young man, tall, handsome, got out of his seat and came to Yumi and put his head on Yumi's shoulder. And he said, Yumi, I am the son of a Nazi, and you are a visible Jew. Thank you so much for coming to us. And he sobbed, and Yumi sobbed, and the two of them held each other for a long, long time. And as they did, people of the workshop began to come up and created a circle around us, and all of us began to sob together. And I cannot tell you how long we stood there together, crying out the world that had been conducted through the blade and now could actually begin to have bridges that connect us. Unforgettable for all of us. And we continued to teach both in Austria and Germany. And when Yumi had his 76th birthday, the only place he really wanted to celebrate was in Vienna, because he wanted to be surrounded by the big group of deep, good friends we had made among Austrians and Germans. And he wanted it in a palais. And so we did. He had a beautiful birthday with our wonderful friends who held us, who loved us, who celebrated us, and we delighted to have them be a community in our hearts. And so who are we today? Yumi and I have been married 55 years. And I like to say that this Yumi, with his courage and integrity, changed so many times and transformed himself that he became a new husband and a new husband. And by the time last year arrived, I had 28 husbands in Yumi. And then he received a diagnosis of neurocognitive impairment. And I realized that I was going to say goodbye to my 28th husband. And I was going to say hello to a completely new man, my 29th husband. And who inspired me in how to do this? Yumi. Because when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, he looked at me, the two of us totally terrified about the diagnosis. And he said to me, Haiti, how long shall we be terrified? Let's say 2 hours, 3 hours. After that, he says, it's not a problem to be solved. It's an adventure to be lived. And so when we decided how long we were going to be terrified, after that, he said, now we're going to give a name to that adventure. And he named the adventure Rallying Around the Boob. Everybody that rallied, we called them the Boob Brigade. And Yumi held my hand in a way that I did not know a hand could be held. And so now it's my turn. And I decided that the adventure we live now, I'm calling it Rallying Around the Essence. Because Yumi is totally in his essence. He doesn't talk much, but he loves. He's tender. He's grateful. He expresses with his eyes so much tenderness to me and says, thank you, thank you. And I am being asked to be in my essence, fully loving, caring. And so we spend time I call eternal shower, where I am there just as Yumi showers. And when he comes out, I give him a massage with Nivea cream. And the other day I said to him, Yumi, how did you live your whole life without Nivea cream all over your body? And he looked at me and he said, it's a miracle. So his sense of humor is right there. And so he's my 29th husband. And we have a new marriage. And somehow this world pandemic, the fact that we're home all the time, has given both of us a chance to our new marriage. And so what can I say to you about my work? My work has continued to evolve with every marriage that we have welcomed in our life. And my understanding of coupleship has continued to evolve with every marriage that we have welcomed. And in the year 2020, again, there was a very big shift in my work because I used to do my work in 2 or 3 day intensive in person. And suddenly I found myself pivoting and entering the possibility of working on Zoom. And I've created a 10-session couple journey on Zoom. And I find it very inspiring because there is, during that 10-week, time for integration that I find deep and inspiring. My core purpose with every single couple is always to have them embrace 3 invisible connectors. 1, the relational space and the responsibility we have to really make it safe and fertile and sacred. The bridge between the worlds and crossing to the world of the other, so different from who we are. And finally, the zone of the encounter, that magical place where we connect to each other, soul to soul, essence to essence. I teach couples 2 things only. The art of hosting. How do I take you into me, and by welcoming you, explore the truths that live in my core. The art of visiting. How do I leave the world I live in and cross the bridge, completely present, completely curious, completely empty, completely naked, so that I can give you the purest presence possible. What I'm really teaching couples is how to have new eyes for their own world and for each other. And I'm basing it on Marcel Proust, the French poet, who said, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. And he added, the real voyage of discovery consists in beholding the universe through the eyes of another, of 100 others, and to behold 100 universes that each of them is. Ultimately, what I'm teaching couples is to develop completely new eyes for each other so that they can behold the 100 universes that each one of them is. A rabbi called the Rabbi of Bratslav used to say, the whole entire world is a very narrow bridge. And the most important thing is to not let fear stop you, but rather fearlessly face the bridge and cross it. And it became a song which I'll sing for you in Hebrew. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. והעיקר לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל. And that was Yumi. Yumi decided the world is a narrow bridge, and that narrow bridge leads us to Austria and Germany. And our purpose is to not be afraid, but rather face the bridge and cross it. And that's why I speak to you today and have the honor to be part of your Imago Tago. And so I will share with you the last 3 lines of Amanda Gorman's poem. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. I love this. If only we're brave enough to see the light, if only we're brave enough to be the light. And so I leave you with this message. I wish you a wonderful, productive, and deeply rewarding community event. Auf Wiedersehen, liebe Freunde. Tschüss.